I was sitting across from my son at our favorite Italian restaurant when my phone buzzed on the table. At first, I thought it was just one of those random spam messages, or maybe a reminder from the pharmacy about my prescription. But when I glanced down and saw the words glowing on the screen, my heart nearly stopped. Get up and go. Don't say anything to your son. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. For a second, I thought it was a mistake, maybe a wrong number, but then another message came through immediately after. He's not who you think he is. Leave now. I swear, my blood turned to ice. My son was sitting right in front of me, smiling, chatting about work, completely unaware that my world had just tilted off its axis. Tell me honestly, what would you do if someone sent you that message about your own child? Would you trust your gut and stay, or would you run before you found out the truth the hard way? Let me back up for a second, because this moment didn't come out of nowhere. My name is Caroline, and I'm 57 years old. My husband, Tom, passed away 2 years ago after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. Losing him broke something inside me that I'm not sure ever healed, but I tried to hold it together, for our son, Ryan. He was my whole world, my only child. We were always close. At least I thought we were. When Tom died, Ryan became my anchor. He visited every weekend, called me every night, and made sure I was never alone. But lately, there had been changes. Little things I brushed off at first. He became more secretive, distant. His calls turned into texts. When I'd ask about his job or his girlfriend, he'd dodge the question or suddenly get another call. It was strange, but I told myself it was just life getting in the way. Until that night, that dinner wasn't random. Ryan had called me that morning and said, "Hey Mom, how about dinner tonight? My treat. There's something I've been meaning to talk to you about." I remember smiling, thinking maybe he was finally opening up. Maybe it was about the promotion he'd been working toward, or maybe, just maybe, he was going to tell me he was getting engaged. I was so happy I spent the afternoon baking his favorite lemon loaf just to bring to him after dinner. When I got to the restaurant, he was already there, waving me over. He looked tired, drawn even, but when he smiled, I saw the little boy I raised. The same dimple on his left cheek, the same warm brown eyes. How could that same face possibly hide something so sinister that a stranger would warn me to run from him? As we sat there chatting, I kept glancing at my phone, trying to make sense of the message. My first instinct was to ignore it. But something about it felt deliberate. It wasn't spam. The number wasn't one I recognized, but it didn't look random either. It had a local area code. And the timing, why would anyone send that message right as I was sitting with Ryan? I tried to act normal, but I couldn't stop the tremor in my hands. "You okay, Mom?" Ryan asked, noticing the way I fumbled with my glass of water. "You look pale." I smiled weakly and said, "Just tired, honey." A few minutes later, another text came in. This time my blood ran cold. "If you don't leave now, you won't get another chance. He knows." My heart started pounding so loud I was sure Ryan could hear it. I looked up and caught him watching me, but this time his expression wasn't soft. It was curious, too curious. Like he was studying me, measuring me. The air around us suddenly felt heavy, suffocating. That's when I realized he hadn't touched his food. Not once. I forced a laugh and said, "Excuse me, sweetie, I just need to use the restroom." My voice cracked halfway through the sentence. He nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. "Sure, Mom," he said, but there was something in his tone, something that made my skin crawl. I grabbed my purse and headed toward the restroom, trying to keep my pace steady, though every instinct screamed at me to run. As soon as I turned the corner out of his sight, I pulled my phone out again and typed back to the unknown number, Who is this? What's happening? The reply came almost instantly. Don't go back to the table. Go out the back door. Now. That was the moment I realized I was genuinely afraid of my own son. And I can't even describe how that felt. To have that kind of primal fear twist your love into something unrecognizable. I hesitated, standing there in the narrow hallway between the restrooms and the kitchen. Part of me thought this was crazy. Maybe it was some kind of sick prank. Maybe someone had hacked my phone, but then I heard it. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate footsteps coming down the hallway behind me. Mom, Ryan's voice echoed. You okay? You've been gone a while. He sounded calm. Too calm. Before I could think, I pushed through the kitchen doors, startling the staff, and slipped out the back exit. The cold night air hit me like a slap. I half ran, half stumbled to my car, fumbling with the keys. My phone buzzed again. Good, drive away, don't go home. My breath hitched. Don't go home, that's where all my things were. Where I thought I was safe. But something inside me told me to listen. I drove aimlessly for almost an hour before finally pulling into a gas station. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Who are you? I texted again. Why are you saying this about my son? The response this time made me physically ill. Your son isn't who you think he is. He's been lying to you, and tonight was the night he planned to end it. I froze. My throat went dry. End what? I typed, my fingers trembling. The reply came, you. He took out an insurance policy in your name 6 months ago. He's in deep debt. Don't go home. I felt like the world was spinning. My vision blurred. I had to pull myself together before I broke down completely. I called my sister, Hannah, and told her everything. Well, not everything. I didn't mention the insurance part yet. She lived about an hour away and told me to come to her house immediately. On the way there, I kept checking my mirrors, convinced Ryan was following me. Every pair of headlights behind me felt like a threat. Every turn of the road felt like it could be the last one I'd ever make. At Hannah's, I finally broke down. I showed her the texts, told her about the strange dinner invitation, and how Ryan had been acting distant lately. She looked at me with a mix of horror and disbelief. Caroline, she whispered, you have to call the police. But what would I even tell them? That someone texted me saying my son wanted to kill me. That sounded insane. Still, Hannah convinced me to at least file a report. The next day, I went to the police station. I gave them everything, the texts, Ryan's number, even details about his financial troubles. The officer who took my statement didn't dismiss me, but I could tell he wasn't entirely convinced either. He said they'd look into it. That phrase, look into it, felt like a death sentence. For the next few days, I stayed at Hannah's house. I didn't hear from Ryan. Not a call, not a text. Then, 3 days later, I got another message from the same unknown number. You're safe for now. He thinks you're visiting a friend. Don't tell anyone about this number. I wanted to know who was behind the texts so badly. Was it a guardian angel, or someone manipulating me? So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you go to the police again, confront your son, or just disappear for good? A week later, I got the call that shattered what was left of my heart. The police wanted me to come in. When I arrived, an officer handed me a folder. Inside were printed documents, bank records, emails, and a copy of the insurance policy. My name was listed as the insured, with Ryan as the sole beneficiary. The officer looked at me gently and said, "We verified it. He did take it out, and we found messages on his phone planning to resolve things with you." My knees nearly gave out. But how? "How did you even find that?" I asked. "We traced the number that texted you." He said it belonged to one of his acquaintances, someone who backed out at the last minute. Apparently, Ryan had gotten involved with loan sharks after losing his job months earlier. He had borrowed heavily, trying to invest in cryptocurrency and get rich quick. When that failed, the debt collectors came knocking, and in his desperation, he came up with a plan that made me sick to my stomach. He would make my death look like an accident, claim the insurance, and pay off his debts. The acquaintance who texted me had been approached to help him stage it, but guilt ate him alive, so he warned me instead. When the truth hit, I couldn't stop shaking. My son, the baby I raised, the boy who once held my hand crossing the street, had planned to kill me. They arrested him that night. When I saw his face on the news, all I could think was, where did I go wrong? He didn't even look remorseful. Just empty, cold. The trial took months. Ryan tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding, that the insurance policy was for my benefit, and that the messages were taken out of context. But the evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to several years in prison for conspiracy to commit fraud and attempted harm. I attended every hearing, not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed closure. The day they took him away, he turned to me and said, "You shouldn't have trusted anyone, Mom, not even the person who texted you." And for a split second, I saw something in his eyes, fear. That's when I realized maybe the person who texted me wasn't doing it out of guilt. Maybe they had their own reasons. The police never found that person again. The number was deactivated. To this day, I still wonder who saved me. And why? Sometimes, late at night, I get this eerie feeling that the whole thing was bigger than I understood. Maybe Ryan got tangled with people far worse than anyone realized. Or maybe he wasn't lying about that last part. But even after everything, I still love him. That's the hardest part to admit. No matter what he did, he's still my son. But I'll never forget that message, those chilling words that changed my life forever. Get up and go. Don't say anything to your son. So, that's my story. Like this video if you were on my side. And if you think I did the right thing by leaving that night. Subscribe for more stories like this. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were me? Would you have stayed and faced your son, or trusted the warning and walked away? I'll see you all in the next story.